a lot of what you're saying sounds to me like you're taking external circumstances and external problems that can be chaotic, and you're going into it and you're just dealing with it one problem at a time, which isn't chaos. You're right. In that way, with wedding photography, you go into this situation. It's very high stress, very time constraint oriented, very schedules, and you got to get things done very quickly, and you got to get it done perfectly because there's no redo. I did very well in that, but in terms of running a business, I wouldn't want to have that as my modus operandum.
Like I don't think a person with a chaotic nature can be a good business owner. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Like I think
think so
if your nature is to scatter, like I've seen I've met people like when the whole marijuana grow farm thing started taking off. I've met a lot of people. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna go work on a grow farm, or I'm gonna go start my own dispensary.
Right.
And I met dozens of them.
Oh yeah, sure.
And every last one of them is doing something different or went bankrupt. Because now these things are successful. The business was there. It just was not for them because they were thinking that they were getting into a situation where their mode of living would be of benefit.
Yeah.
Their mode of lackadaisical, slightly chaotic, less rules type situation. And the fact of the matter is, in a situation like a growing market of marijuana or, what have you, you need less chaos there than any other place. Like, that's where you need to have strict controls, strict rules, and a firm hand.
Yeah.
Which they did not have in any sense.
Well, yeah, but that's why there's the concern about the people who used to be the black market dealers of such things, right? Your drug dealers, right?
Right.
That turn into legitimate businessmen. They end up being so much more successful.
Yeah.
Because if you're a good illegal dealer, right? You're going to be an excellent legal dealer because you have to maintain such strict controls and everything in order to not get your ass caught.
It's discipline, right?
Right.
Like
Meek
Mills.
Yeah.
Anybody listen to Meek Mills? Am I the one? Yeah, I'm the one who listens to Meek Mills.
Sorry.
Meek Mill's a rapper. Like, it's not a big deal. Like some people think he sucks. I think he's great. He tweeted out, said, guys, we have the internet. Okay? If you can't make money on the internet, don't try to sell drugs.
Right.
Like, what I'm saying? If you can't make money when money is thrown on the floor, don't ever try to sell drugs because you're going to get caught immediately.
Right.
And
exactly.
it's this reason.
What that just popped up an image in my mind. Did you guys ever watch that show Weeds?
Yeah, I did.
So here's this housewife. Her husband dies. Insurance money's gone. She's got to make money, but she doesn't really want to work. So she goes and she's like a drug dealer. She deals marijuana. Yeah. And I don't know, that whole thing you were just painting there, that was the mental picture that popped into my mind because Nancy Botwin was like, she was like the worst. She was terrible at what she did. She reigned in chaos. She loved chaos.
But flip it to a different show and look at Breaking Bad.
Right. Now that was a whole other, that was 180 in the other way.
A 180 other way because this is a guy who wanted to control every aspect of his life.
And he was good
at all times.
He was very good at it.
And that is perfect if you want to sell drugs.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that's the mentality you have to have. And I think, I hate to say that entrepreneurs and drug dealers have the same spirit.
I mean, they do though, kind of.
But they kind of do.
I mean, the question is, is more on the lines of, it's not that they have the same spirit. It's that, is it an entrepreneurial thing to be a drug dealer, right? Take the illegality out of it,
sure.
Right? Like that's not what we're talking about because honestly, regulatory and law stuff is actually considered one of the risks in business, right?
Okay, yeah.
Sure.
And we know damn well from years, anybody who's watched any mafia movie, who's done any research on the mob, right?
Right.
Just because it's illegal doesn't mean it can't be good business.
It doesn't mean it's not a business.
Right.
That's right. I mean, go all the way back to bootlegging, Yeah. The Kennedys got where they were because of bootlegging.
Prohibition era laws. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's true.
We're coming for the Kennedys now.
To be fair.
Hey, the American royal family. Let's go for it.
To be fair, The Kennedys came after themselves. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Are there any of them left? I mean, don't they all die mysteriously?
No, we
They're
still, we still got a bunch of
I
Kennedys.
mean, I know
right?
Ted Kennedy's still around, but like by and large,
No,
most of
they
them
got
are-
a bunch
Ted's gone.
Oh, Ted's gone.
Ted's gone.
What's the Kennedy that's in?
Jesus. That was Pirate Ben in the corner there.
We put him in the corner for being bad.
Yeah, well,
There are a lot of young Kennedys out there. Like the Kennedys actually had a pretty wide reaching.
well, they were Catholic, so
family.
they had a bunch.
They
were
got
a
a bunch of fucking kids.
No, we have one in Congress.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it
What's
Joe-
his name?
Joe Kennedy.
Joe
Joe
Kennedy.
Kennedy, yeah.
Thank
Joe
you.
Kennedy.
I couldn't
He's-
remember. I
He's
knew there was
not part
one.
of the main line clan, right? But he
He's
is
like a
the
distant cousin.
he's
branch
one
family.
of one of the branch families there.
Yeah, yeah.
You
The
know.
like that is such a fucking concept to me, that you have a main family in the family. The main branch. What the fuck does that mean? The main branch.
Well,
Does it-
the main branch is winning off most of their adults, so they needed to pull in from the side branches.
That's what I'm saying. I thought most of the like main Kennedys were dead.
Well, I mean, okay, so we lost JFK Jr. in the plane crash,
right, but that was like
Right.
20 years ago.
yeah, that was.
Yeah,
But he
but
had
he has
had a
young
kid.
kids.
He had kids.
you know, and they're just out of the limelight. I don't know what they're doing right now.
JFK Jr. did not have kids.
It did.
Yeah, he did. Okay, this is my job.
Or maybe
and
maybe it did.
Okay, you look that up because I thought him and his wife had only been married like a year when they had that plane crash. Was he involved with somebody
No,
else,
I-
like an
no,
out of
I
wedlock
think-
baby?
Like they had been together for a while. If I
Yeah,
uh,
but-
I'm not positive about that. Like Mike's looking it up. But I know there are other Kennedy kids. I mean, hell,
Well, like the
Maria
main-
Shriver's a goddamn Kennedy. There are other.
yeah, yeah, that branch of the family.
There are
Whoever they are.
There are other Kennedys. Whoever fucking the side family for the dude from the Rat Pack. Like he married a Kennedy. Wherever
The Rat
his
Pack,
kids
there were
are.
a bunch of them. Who?
Well, what was his name?
You had the Rat Pack.
Yeah, it was
Sinatra
Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr.,
and I'm gonna say Dean Martin.
Dean Martin.
Dean Martin. There was
Yeah.
then the fourth guy.
There was
There
a
was a
fourth
fourth?
guy.
Yeah, shit. God damn it.
Google.
Now, like,
Alexa, who
see,
was the fourth
problem,
Rat Pack
the fucking problem I have here is this dude's younger than me. That's making me feel old. Like, yeah, the fourth guy in the Rat Pack. Who you talking about, Boomer?
Okay. So Joe Kennedy in Congress right now is the son of Robert Kennedy. RFK.
Yeah, that was the younger brother of,
RFK.
Right.
John F. Kennedy.
Yeah,
Right.
he also got shot and killed.
But I'm talking about JFK Jr., John Kennedy's son, who was little bitty when he was assassinated, who married
I'm looking for it now.
Caroline something or other.
I'm looking up a complete different thing now because you guys got to be fucked up on the Rat Pack. The Rat Pack was 4 people.
Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and
Rat Pack was Rat Pack members. It was Peter Lawford. Thank you.
well, nobody ever remembers him because
Well,
Peter Lawford.
no, nobody ever remembers him. But he was like he was married to a Kennedy.
Oh, right. That's
So
right.
it was like whatever that line is also Kennedy's.
That's
And
an
they were-
offshoot, though.
I mean, like I'm not sure like how what's it take to be a goddamn Kennedy? Like you just have to be blood
So
related to him.
I don't. Well, I mean, obviously, you would think JFK's dad and his siblings would be like the main patriarch, where the main patriarch line comes down from.
Yeah, but that.
Of course, there could
I
have been
guess,
like 10 of them.
like,
Who
anyway,
knows?
like,
I don't know.
Like I don't like we don't really.
I
fuck
know
with-
more about the royal family in England
It's
than
like,
I
yeah,
do
I'd say
about
that-
them.
It's not as if he was married to Patricia Kennedy, who was the sister of John Kennedy, President John Kennedy.
yeah. Okay.
So it's pretty close.
Right. No,
there
it
were, like,
wasn't.
6 of
That's what I
them.
remember. It wasn't. JFK Jr. didn't have kids. His holdings were evenly divided among Caroline Kennedy's 3 children.
Yes,
His sisters.
Caroline Kennedy, his sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
because his
there's
sister was older than him.
there's enough Kennedys to go around still. In other words, the royal family is still mostly intact. As far as even though the patriarchs all got sniped by people in time.
God, it felt like they had a curse on them.
Well, everybody felt like they had a curse
Well,
on them.
yeah.
I mean, hell, Rose Kennedy ran out of black dresses.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, and it really is, the royal family. I mean, if you, God, I hate to even admit this, but if you ever watched the Gilmore Girls,
Oh, yeah,
right?
I did.
Yeah.
That whole
I so
that whole
did.
community, her parents, rich Connecticut community.
That was all.
Yeah.
That's them.
That was that world. Yeah, that
That's
was that
world.
Sure. Sure.
And that coming from that area of the country, yeah, that world still
It's
to
still-
this day
it's still
has
like
an
that?
impact.
It's
Yes.
Wow.
it's dynastic. Those kinds of families exist for decades,
That's
generations.
that's when you have wealth. That's something I
That's what
never
wealth is.
I never understand. Look, I probably never will understand because I'm gonna be too fucking poor my whole life. But there's a whole we have this concept in the black community. It's called there's rich, and then there's nigger rich.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
rich is when you got a lot of money to make a lot of choices. Nigger rich, we got a lot of money to buy shit. that is the difference. Like you don't have a lot of choices
So you
per
have
se,
spending power.
but you have buying power.
You have buying power.
You
Okay.
know, and so like I've always
So what are Jay-Z and Beyonce? Are they rich?
no, they are rich.
Okay.
No, the Jay-Z,
I was gonna say, I thought they were rich.
Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah.
Doesn't Chappelle do a joke about that? Like
Yeah, he does.
Beyonce rich and
Yeah.
Jay-Z rich.
And Chris Rock does it better, where he's like, Oprah is rich, but she's not wealthy. If Bill Gates woke up with Oprah's money, he'd shoot himself. It's like,
Oh yeah, comparatively, sure.
it's like that's said black people can be rich, but we have a very hard time building wealth. I don't say that even of Puff Daddy, Jay-Z, and Dr. Dre. Where they you've got $1 billion or almost $1 billion.
Yeah, but they've kind of built a dynasty within themselves. So they're not blood related. I get that, but like that group of people, that generation of people, they have amassed together. They've amassed quite a bit of wealth.
Yes, they have quite a bit of money. But let's say if Puff got shot in the face tomorrow, who's taking on all that business?
Yeah. You're saying there's no like a junior involved. who's gonna come
Exactly.
up and take it.
There's no they haven't spread out this organization in such a way that when one person goes down, there's another person that gets onto the top and it continues in the same way.
Okay,
There
so-
could be another person, like another business partner, that's like, okay, now I own the company, but then without that guiding force, the money sort of bleeds away.
So from a business standpoint, would they be better served bringing their family in, their children, their relatives, and building a record label or whatever, a fashion line, whatever it is that they're involved in, and spread it out within their own family and like?
That would be my hope, but I don't know if that would actually work.
You don't think they do?
It's like, I mean,
Like, there's got to be a reason why
Why
it's
not?
not happening.
Is that a
it's-
cultural thing?
It could be because
Because I've never understood why there's like you have these families like the Kennedys and they're so dynastic and they have for generations and generations this amassed wealth, and can we really? Is there a black family that we can name that too?
I think like the Smiths,
Like for real,
the Smiths. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith.
Oh yeah.
with their
I
kids.
mean, they made a very strong effort to give their
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
a foothold in their
but
business.
that's just 2 generations.
Yeah, but there's
But
Yeah, but then
is that it?
Jaden goes and gets on Twitter and fucks everything up.
exactly. And then it's like the kids don't really hold on to it that
What
way.
I really love
Like,
about
there's-
that though is that Will Smith gets out there after he does that and tells the entire world, "Yeah, my kid's an idiot."
Well, he had no choice. Like what he said was that
Call a spade a spade,
What he
man.
would like because Jada Pinkett is all like he came to me 15-year-old saying he wanted to emancipate. I said it's time for you to get on your own. And Will Smith is like, what the fuck are both of you? Are you both fucked in the ear hole? And then like years later, he didn't leave home. He came right back because all of his shit is here.
Yeah.
And he got on television and said, looking back on it, maybe we gave him a little bit too much freedom.
Well, I think
maybe we went too far the other direction.
They have erred a little bit on the side of like letting their kids make their own decisions a little too young, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it was maybe just a little bit much, but I'm still working on for my own family. Okay, my last name is Coleman, but it was changed from Adams and Trailer and Strahan. Okay, so like on my Coleman side of my of my heritage. So the Adams Trailers and the Strahans all owned large tracts of land, huge tracts of land in Jasper, Newton County. So we went down. We did research. My wife did research because she's a fucking researcher and a genius. She did research and figured out how much property that these people owned, and literally it was most of Jasper and Newton County. Like if you took all the family member and all the families and just added up how much they owned, it was a tremendous amount of land. If and over the years, the kids, the parents died, the kids took the land and said, well, we don't want to do anything with it. We don't want to pay the taxes, so let the state of Texas take the land back for tax liens. Happened over and over and over again until all the land was gone. So if they had not done that, if there had been a structure in place to maintain the wealth that they had gathered through normal means, buying and selling a property, then we would not have this podcast because I wouldn't live in this town because I would be in a high rise somewhere.
You'd be too good for us.
I would be so far too good. Like I wouldn't. Like honestly, I wouldn't even have met Ben. Like Ben would have been that crazy guy in Lufkin they keep talking about. said I'm hearing about this dude Harbuck. What the fuck is he doing in Lufkin?
Fascinating to me that your family owned most of Jasper and Newton County, and now none of it.
None
Not
of
even
it.
a scrap of land.
No, not there. Like my father and his brothers have. I mean, they went and did their own thing, and they've built up their own, holdings.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, they own property and such, and like they're fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong, but they're not rich.
That would be an interesting sort of sociological kind of thing to research. Is
In
why
other words,
people of that particular cultural descent don't hang on to the wealth that they amass
See,
throughout
that's
the
the
generations.
weird thing because like they didn't have buying power at the time. What they had was land. Like it wasn't if they could sell, a bunch of timber at that time. It wasn't. They would have had to have held on to it through the lean years,
Yeah.
put it all together, and then they would have discovered the wealth. You see?
Well, I mean, you got to look at the idea of how long does it actually take to amass wealth?
It takes a while.
Because amassing wealth is the reason that these big dynasties exist in the Northeast is because they've been doing it for
The
a couple hundred
Rockefellers
years.
For 100
and the
years.
Morgans, but that was within a generation of him making that money. I mean, the Industrial Revolution created a situation where a large
Yeah.
amount of money could be made in a very
That
short
was
amount of time.
that was a very
I
specific
think that's
situation.
what you have to look at is yes, you have the Rockefellers, you have the J.P. Morgans, you have the Carnegies, okay, and all of that, okay, and they made the money. But by the way, those are three of the four, the fourth being Vanderbilt, of the
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
focused on in the miniseries Men Who Built America, which is a great miniseries.
It is a great miniseries. Dude, I like those miniseries because they're all these guys were assholes. How
was
much of
so
assholes were
real.
they?
Yeah,
Said they murdered people just for money. That's
Yes,
how much of
that's
assholes
how
they
much
were.
so-
they were not philanthropic back then.
But
No.
they of the four, only one actually became philanthropic.
Right, yes.
So that's a whole thing that yes, they amassed it. They amassed it with just such a beautiful, wonderful ideas in the Reconstruction era,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
And so next, what you have is you have these legacies that they created and they left behind, and I agree with that. But my point is that even post the Civil War, right? Even post Reconstruction, when you go into the Jim Crow period, the opportunity for minorities of color in the United States to even amass the amount of current money to create a wealth legacy has not existed until this current generation. That's why we're seeing folks like Jay-Z. right?
Yeah, it's
And
been
the Smiths.
asymmetrical. You know,
Yeah. I think that in the next 2 generations, we'll see if there's actually a true diversion, or just that finally the opportunity is available.
Yeah.
it would be really fun for me later on in years to look at the Rockefeller dynasty, you know, as being the Rockefeller dynasty. You know, it's like, dude, his grandkids are going to be senators. You know what I mean? That sort of
Right.
that sort of genuine wealth and power that is America.
And I think it should be noted that these 4 men we were talking about, were rich to start with. They just became incredibly wealthy during the Industrial Revolution. You know, they had money to start with because
Yeah.
of the Civil War and Reconstruction and things like that. And then you bring up an interesting point about how, you know, people of color did not have that kind of opportunity. And it's really, like you said, only been within this last generation where any amount of equality has existed. You know, civil rights
Right.
was not that long ago.
It's not where it needs to be to be able to say it would be equal footing as
No.
what was happening in
Yeah,
the Reconstruction
sure.
era.
And there were some strong efforts by black. I mean, you know, there was the whole thing with Black Wall Street, where
Right.
they developed an entire town with a
Right.
thriving black wealth economy that was destroyed pretty much by racism.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it was, and it's an old story where
Old
the-
white rich men don't like other people being rich.
Right. Yeah. It's like, yeah. It's an old story, and so there is definitely some of that. But I think for at least up until this point, a lot of families do that. Black families will do that to themselves. Don King said a quote I will never quite forget, or he said, you know, he was talking about contracts and how you pay them out. He said you can write the contract for whatever amount that you want for this event, for this fight, or whatever, and you may have to pay it if the person demands it. However, you may not if you pay it in cash. They said, what does that mean? He said, what it means is any man would take a $50,000 suit, 50 grand in cash over $5 million check any day of the week. Because cash means you can go buy that car that you want. A check means you got to put it in the bank, wait for it to clear, and get a lawyer, and get an accountant, blah, 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 blah. They don't want to bother with it. So you don't want to pay that contract, just give him cash. And it worked for him. That's how he built his empire.
I wonder if that's true though for, like, say, poor white people. You know, that have never experienced money. Is that also in your experience? Would you say that? Because I feel like
I would
the people
say-
I know that have come from that background, that's sort of how it works too.
I would say that is absolutely how it works too.
Yeah.
Like and I think one of the probably the biggest kept secret in America right now that everyone knows is that poor white people and poor black people are exactly the same.
No, yeah, sure. Except that poor white people think that if they just did X, Y, or Z, they
Yeah.
would be rich. Whereas black people are like, yeah, I know that.
That's not gonna happen. You know, I think it's just it's a mental
That's the
state thing.
delusion I think that poor white people seem to have, that they think that the American dream, if they just did this, they'd have
It's
it.
right around the corner.
Right, and
It's
that's why so many of poor people seem to vote against their own best interest when it comes to, say, politics or, you know, social issues that would better their life. Oh, no. I've been raised to be told that if I just do this, it'll happen for me.
So you got to work a little bit harder. You got to work a little bit harder, a little bit longer, and we'll get. Or say, well, I want to vote for this guy because this guy has my best interest at heart. Mm-hmm. So he is helping me every day by doing the things that he does. So what did he do to help you? Oh, you know that thing.
Yeah.
No,
It's
it
also
actually
very
don't.
arbitrary. And so
Yeah, it's
vague.
completely vague. It's like that guy didn't do shit for you.
Yeah.
You know, that's. But there's no
Poor
once,
white people
once
are
you
so
get,
trusting, and black people are like, they're cynical as hell. And I feel like that
Absolutely.
at least keeps them alive.
it's just as so. What's gonna happen today? We're gonna get fucked over by some white man.
Yeah, probably.
Watch. I know it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, just the fact of the matter. Just accept it. Just go through your life accepting that some white man's gonna fuck you over. When it happens, you're not pissed about it. You're not mad at him. Just doing what you're supposed to do. That's what people do. They fuck you over. You know, it's like it's like getting bit by a snake. So we mad at the snake for biting me? That's what snakes do.
I mean, it's kind of true.
So what do white people do? They fuck over brown people. Yeah, I knew that. You know, that's a lot of times we'll get into these debates about people just shocked when something happens. Like the 2016 when Trump was elected, like people were just shocked. I mean, shocked and dismayed and in tears. And black people were like, "Really? You're surprised?"
I knew that shit was gonna happen.
God, I said, "Well, that's just racist." Yeah. And that's exactly what we thought was going to happen. Like, why? Because we live here.
Yeah.
We've lived here for so long. It's happened so many times. We just expect it to happen again.
Yeah.
It's a mental state thing. It's a cultural thing, you know. And there's a lot of weird cultural things that seem counterintuitive when you look at them on the surface. I was just going through one just now. Me and Ben were just outside talking about one. How much time we got in the second segment?
We got about 10 minutes.
No, we got 10 minutes left? Yeah. Okay, I can go ahead and get into it. So, my coming in here, what's going on right now is my father-in-law has been whisked to the hospital. He is a cancer survivor, but he has a permanent ileostomy. You know what that is? That's when they remove your colon, and so all you have is your small intestine for digestion. The small intestine does 90% of the work of the digestive process, so you can be fine with just that. But you eliminate body waste into a ileostomy bag, and sometimes because he does not have that extra bit of organ there to dry things out, he'll get blockages. Okay, and so now he has a blockage right now. It causes a lot of discomfort, vomiting, things like that, and so he's going to the hospital to get it cleared up. Now, here's the problem. I started asking him about this 2 days ago, and the answer I kept getting was, "No, I'm fine." Are you in any pain?
Male response.
Okay, it's a typical male response. And so, 2 days later, he's vomiting into a trash can, and I'm doing this, right? I'm coming out here to do this, and so I rush back home, take him to the hospital. I get there and said, "No, he's not going to go." Said, "Why aren't you going to the hospital?" Said, "Well, we're going to wait for." My wife was taking our daughters onto a basketball game, and so I called her back, and she's on her way back. Said, "We're going to wait for her to get here," and I'm like, you know what? I can't drag a grown Mexican out of his house.
I mean, you could, but that would be a very bad idea.
I wish we had a fan who could illustrate some of the stuff we talk about. I would love to see an illustration of Flavor Ray dragging a grown Mexican man out of his house.
It's not what I signed up for when I married his daughter. It's that I'm not. Dude, you want to go to the hospital? Fine, fuck you. You want to go to the hospital? Stay right there. And so, I left and came back down here. I called my wife and told the situation. She's like, "Yeah, go ahead and go. I'll come home and get him, and everything will be fine." I said, "I trust you because you're you. You're more capable than I am in most things, so I just trust you completely." And so I came down here, and I told Ben that he had a situation, and Ben goes, "That's a cultural thing." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, I don't know a white family that would wait to take somebody to the hospital. Somebody needs to go to the hospital, you just go." And he said it, and yeah, it's true that if, my dad was having a heart attack, I would call the ambulance. Mm-hmm. If he's having like a lot of trouble, I would call the ambulance and take him to the hospital, regardless of what the fuck he said about it. Like I wouldn't be asking his opinion. But it's also true that sometimes men will just try to tough it out.
Yes.
And that's not cultural.
No, that's universal across the races.
That is a man thing. And so, like, I'm not sure. I think that culturally, Mexicans are just more manly. They're just more. They just have more of that man thing. That is known that they're gonna be hard to deal with. Like I really think that my mother may wait for him to lose consciousness. Like wait, so once he passes out, he can't argue.
Or maybe they just need to call a family summit and they take a vote.
You have to as a man, you're not allowed to admit that defeat until you are in full
for a
panic.
fact.
Like when you start panicking, all right, Game over. Let's go.
And I will say this: by the time I came home, he knew. Like I asked him, "So are you going to go to the hospital?" And he was like, "Probably." You know, he's like, "I'm fairly sure I'm going to go to the hospital for this." But it wasn't like he was like, "You know what? Get the truck. Let's go." You know,
Right.
it
He
was-
wasn't in panic mode yet.
And my mother was like, just get out of here. Just get out of here. Go do your thing. And my wife's like, yeah, just go do your thing. We'll handle it. Like, in other words, they already knew this was going to happen. You know, like I've been looking at him for 2 days, going, "Are you okay? Are you in pain?" So if I was doing that, his wife must have been asking him several more times than I was.
No, she ain't asking him shit.
No,
She knows the answer.
okay. Yes, it's either that. It's either she was asking him and he's going, no, I'm fine. And she's like, okay, fine, we'll see. Or she didn't ask him anything, just gonna wait until he spirals, hits rock bottom, and then be like, all right, you're ready now. You know, like, and it could be either way. I really don't know. I really don't know which one of those it was. I know he's at the hospital now because he literally they had to call the ambulance. They couldn't even get him into the vehicle to get him to the hospital. They had to call an ambulance. That's just a weird cultural thing. It's like one of those weird cultural things that you don't really think about until something like this happens. I mean, like, Ben had a chest flutter and went to the hospital, right? I had a chest flutter.
Okay.
I had a chest flutter, and I
calls it a chest flutter.
I took my pulse and started thinking, all right, if I don't die next 20 minutes, I'm probably good.
It took Ben a little more convincing to
How
go
much?
to the hospital.
How much convincing did it take for? Like this is
Half a day.
This is right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is right in line with
Half
what we're
a
talking
day,
about.
he woke up that way, not feeling good, and it was like,
Yeah.
okay. And at first, I don't know how much of this he wants me to say, but
He doesn't
he's-
care.
I don't give a
he's
fuck
had-
what he's saying. Just say it all.
He's had panic attacks in the past.
He
and
shit
that's
his
kind
pants.
of what it was.
And the shit's right down his
Oh
leg.
my
For those
God,
of
that is
you-
not no.
For those of you
no.
who are unfamiliar with what a panic attack is, it is a heart attack for wussies.
I've had them.
Oh.
And I'm not a wussy. You might be, but I'm
Yeah,
not.
I love the idea that that's what a doctor would say to a person. To say said no, you didn't have a heart attack. What you had was pussification. You're weak is the problem. Here. No, like
Y'all are so stupid. Okay, anyway.
We've been trying to get that out of her all night. I'm waiting for the insults.
I'm losing my patience.
For those of you who do not know, I was informed just the other day that Sarah is now the vice president of the company I
But
founded.
this was news to me as well.
And,
I don't know how you didn't
there's-
know that.
But there's a good damn reason for it. And the insults that she's about to hurl at our faces,
Oh my God.
though, that's the reason.
like I really don't know how you didn't realize that. Like that was obvious to everybody but you.
Yes, as is the case with most any kind of relationship between a male and a female. That's generally how it works.
Everybody's looking at you going, "You didn't know that?"
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, go on. Yes, I realized that was.
What
that
were
was,
we
that
even
was
talking
dumb.
about? I don't even know.
We're
You two have been
talking about-
bullshitting.
You're talking about Ben going to the hospital.
Oh,
You're walking
right.
me through that.
Yeah, so his symptoms were very panic attack like, and so I thought, okay, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But then when it went on for much longer than it should have, it was like, okay, you need to probably go to the doctor. I just need to rest. Like, whatever. Okay, I know that's probably not true, but at some point it's going to get to be so bad, you're going to be forced to make a decision here. So it took
Right.
about half a day for him to go, okay, maybe I should go to the doctor. And then
Yeah.
he gets to urgent doc, and they're like, yeah, you need to go to the emergency room.
Yeah. Like this is the thing.
This was the thing. You skip us because this is pretty serious. You need to go to the hospital and have some tests run.
We aren't even going to charge you.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
not even going to charge you.
That's how serious it was. They weren't taking the money for it because they didn't
Yeah.
want any
No
evidence,
liability.
any evidence he'd ever been here.
Yeah. So like it's I think it's a definitely a man thing to kind of like I'm going to wait it out. And to be fair,
I'm the worst.
I grew up in a household where going to the doctor was the last ditch effort. That's what you did at the very like you were on death's door and then you went to the doctor.
Right.
Because my dad, you guys know my dad. that's his. I'm gonna be. I'm gonna have to be almost dying.
What was the home remedy ointment of all of that? Everybody had a house that everybody who lived the way that we lived has a thing in the house that you put this on everything and it's going to fix it or it's
You mean
not.
like Windex, like in the Big Fat
Yeah.
Wedding? I'm trying to think what that might have been. I can't remember.
In Mexican houses, which is what I live in, it's vapor rub.
Vapor rub.
You can put vapor rub and a candle and it'll fix everything. In my house I grew up in, it was Sabine Jr. You ever seen this stuff?
Sobbing Junior.
Sorbin Jr. is how they would call it, Sabin Jr.
Okay.
And you just rub that shit on whatever it is, and it's gonna fix it or it ain't. You ain't going to no damn doctor though. But like I remember,
Rest. If you rest, just rest, you'll feel better.
I destroyed.
That was the thing.
I destroyed my left knee in high school, and literally it is 4 times bigger than it's supposed to be, and it took. From the time I destroyed it until I went to hospital was probably about 14 hours, I want to say, till it was so much fluid, literally you couldn't recognize it as a leg anymore. It was just
Jesus.
but it was soaked. I mean, soaked in Sabine Jr. From all the way. They took a plastic bag and taped it so that the Sabine Jr. would stick onto the skin and seep down into the bone where the injury was. And heal
From
it.
a food family. This is how you know you grew up in a food family.
It's marinated.
Yeah, exactly.
Marinated.
Every injury was like, you need to marinate this.
Literally, it smelled like hell, and it hurt much worse than that. When I finally went to the doctor, they're like, for starters, what the fuck? How did you let?
What is all this?
How did you even let this happen? And what is this smell? Or, look, can you fix it or not? Like, no, we can't fix this shit. It's gonna take surgery.
Yeah,
You're gonna fuck this up.
That happened with my brother. He had appendicitis, but they didn't know that at the time. They thought it was the flu, and this
Right.
went on for a week. Well, then apparently it ruptured, went septic, and my brother was going downhill very fast. And so that scared my dad. And so he
Right.
finally took him to the doctor a week after the symptoms presented. And the doctor was like, you need to turn around, take that kid, put him in the car, and drive him over to the emergency room. I think he's septic. I think his appendix is already ruptured. They get in there, they're doing the surgery, and he almost died
Right.
because they waited so long.
Yeah.
And it was a sheer I thought he had the flu.
I've got a similar story
on.
about that. See, this brings up another point. Another point is it's not just a man thing for me, and I don't know if this is cultural too, but I don't really trust doctors. Even today, married to a woman with a doctorate, college educated myself. I don't really trust. I've mentioned this before on Tattoo with Children that I have a problem with doctors. But I come by it honestly.
Is it because so much of it's guesswork on their part and it's not definitive
think-
science?
I think that a lot of what they do, they don't really know why they do it. They just hope that it works. Like antibiotics. I don't think that they prescribe antibiotics because they think it's going to make you better per se. I think they think it will definitely get you out of their office. And when you do get better, then, okay, yeah, you get better. It's like if you don't get better, say, well, we just need stronger antibiotics or we need more tests. It gives them all the room they need to say whatever they have to do to move on with their day.
I mean, I feel like that's sort of I think medicine used to be practiced in a much different way than it is today. Today, it's more about a profit than it is actually curing the problem. Whereas think about 100 years ago, doctors that would travel on their horse from house to house to treat people, and it was a much more intimate experience in the sense that, okay, what's going on here? And maybe it was go out and pick the so-and-so flower and crush it up. And
crush
give
it
them
up
something.
and
You know,
put it in
and
your
it
eyes
worked.
and it works.
But I feel like the care, while they didn't know as much maybe in terms of knowledge and science then, I feel like the care was so much better in that they okay, what's the root cause here?
I'm not even positive that they know anymore now. Okay, we're going to get into this in the very next segment. We're going to have to take a break. You're listening to Tattoo with Children live at the Pain Points podcast party. We're live streaming here. We're also recording, so this will be at least 2 episodes because I'm just getting started. I don't know how you guys are feeling, but I'm feeling pretty good. I can definitely go for another hour of this, and so that's what I'm going to do.
You could talk all day.
That's right. We will be right back.
Sing so take it. Travel to the door is a normal placement. Tattoos on my arm and a form of faith. Yeah, that battle was a spot up in my morals vacant. Turns out, don't confuse it with a turn up. Ain't a veggie I can see unless you count the burnt blunts. Burn up, I can do this Ric Flair stuff. You consider stir tough, I can never care enough. Care 11 kind of trouble when we're paired up. Apparently the fair started early, grab a bear stuff. My gears, clutch, and motor are all a rare cut. Basically with blood diamonds, ain't that hard to sell up.
My name ain't Mikey, but yeah, I rock. You know why? Cause I don't give a fuck. That's why it doesn't matter whether I'm cool or not. Just a taste of the word gives me the gut rock. It's not pop, so just stop like a blood clot. Cause we're here to blow up like we came from Iraq. Electronica embezzled by hip-hop. Here to kick ass until our heart stops. Hipsters put on their cool shades. And thrifters keep the money they've been paid. And drifters have nothing to say but mind lifters. Don't give a damn what they say.
Wait, undeceivable, shit's unbelievable. You never ever guessed you'd hear this mix, it's inconceivable. Ouch, too hot, baby, back out of the kitchen. This is what you love at one so daddy, put your bitch. I'm a poisonous affliction with a fireball addiction. Man, it burns like hell and tastes like heaven. You say bold, itching. Now I got you campus itching. This is music for your children. If you've never heard the cue before, you don't know what you're missing.
Hey! Doesn't matter if you're cooler, hottest in the cortisol, present better lose a box. Doesn't matter if you're cooler, hottest in the cortisol, present better lose a box. Doesn't matter if you're cooler, hottest in the cortisol, present better lose a box. Doesn't matter if you're cooler, hottest in the cortisol, present better lose a box. I carry the club like Neanderthal, the choir got everybody dancing, dog. Y'all on that X, I'm a sentinel, standing tall. No time to stand still, please don't meander, dog. They throwing jazz at me to challenge my rap savvy. I sway like Callaway, I'm ahead, you'll never catch me. Ain't worry about it unless I spit Christmas gifts. My crew lighting up trees, you a screw to this. Menage a Quad, the name of my team supreme. They biting now, so I'm tossing out teeth and rings. You said you wanted bling, flossing ain't what you mean. You got baby teeth, though they pulling wisdom from me. Get neutered, respect the shooter of medulla. Give an inch, I'll take 5,280 rulers. Royalty around me and mine, we all sires. Words in Paris, we hot, that's French fire. Doesn't matter if you're cooler, hottest in the cortisol, present better lose a box. Doesn't matter if you're cooler, hottest in the cortisol, present better lose a box. Doesn't matter if you're cooler, hottest in the cortisol, present better lose a box. Doesn't matter if you're cooler, hottest in the cortisol, present better lose a box. Challenge my rap, Swabby, keep the first one.
Sing it out at street level. No boost the bass and twist the treble. All our leaders lie and employ pure murder. Do I really have to sing this again? The state we're in, I admit it bears repeating. Authorities exist, the men are overflowing. Passive populists pretending like they never knowing that. Hard to forget if you're one hit by empire straight from lit. Hard to ignore building implode ever own a stick to it. Hard to believe they buried boogeyman body ass even that was old cell phone helmet caps. Never one picture to prove it. Yeah. Sing it out at street level. No boost the bass and twist the treble. All our leaders lie and produce pure murder. Are you ready, wondering where to begin? First steps rejecting this so worthless system. Establishment persists, the harder we resist it. But ceasing to exist the moment we dismiss it. Yeah. Hard to convince significance of working with the minute. Hard to insist when we sparse presence, keeping us extra careless. Expending ammo faster than can even be replenished. Enduring each side ever extending, expanding more that's endless. Sing it out at extreme level. Now push the bass and twist the treble. All our leaders lie and employ pure murder. Sing it out at extreme level. Now push the bass and twist the treble. All our leaders lie and produce pure murder.
Welcome back to the Tattoo with Children live podcast party brought to you by Pain Points. This is the owner of Pain Points, CIO No Pain. We're back for our next segment here, and we're really having a great time doing this, hosting this. The food is great, the people are great. I really wish we could have some video of some of the stuff going on. But we're going to get back into our next segment. And, man, Flavor Ray, you're going to have to remind me. I think I was supposed to do something on this. And
he completely...
completely went past it.
We went out there on smoke break, and he's like, listen, I'm going to bring you back in because I'm going to tell everybody
yes. Now
what...
I know.
You know what he did? He John Starked it. That's a 90s reference for all you old people out there.
Well, now,
okay, Boomer.
now that I've opened myself up to all the criticism, I know what I was going to talk about.
Now he's ready.
Those of you who are currently, I can see a lot of you right now on the Black Spot Tattoo Company Instagram live stream of this. I want to let everyone know that we are actually live streaming this across multiple platforms and multiple accounts on those platforms. So
Right.
It is currently being broadcast on 8 different places. You can catch this if you have any trouble where you're at now. You can catch us on Facebook at Tattoo with Children or at Pain Points.
Right.
You can catch us on YouTube at Tattoo with Children and YouTube at Pain Points. It is on the Pain.Points Instagram as well as the Black Spot Tattoo Company Instagram. And this is a first for me. We are actually also broadcasting live on Twitter.
Yay.
On both at Tattooed With and at Points Paint.
All right, guys. That is your invitation to look in on us if you're having trouble and you were trying to figure out why it wasn't working on whatever platform, just pick another one and see if it works there.
Right, right.
Because we are on 8 different ones. One of them has to work, is my
Sure.
theory.
Well, I mean, theoretically.
Also, I want to take this time to go ahead and end tag this episode, because this is actually the end of episode 1 or something. But I'm not going to go through the whole end tag process normally do. I do all the end tags live. I'm not doing the whole end tag right now. I'll do that later.
Do you want to record that for 2020?
No, I don't.
Okay,
doing
all right.
like this, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
But what I'm going to say is this has been fun. You're listening to a podcast party, and I've had a hell of a time. I've had a great conversation, and I'm enjoying myself, and I'm not going to let it end. So if you want to hear the next part of it, just tune in to the next segment, which will be posted right after this one, and it will start in 3, 2, 1. And you're on Tattoo with Children. I am your host, Flavor Ray, and seat A across me in seat B is now the Dread Pirate Benjamin, famous for the 5-head. And
Sure.
across from us both is our sponsor, CIO No Pain, who is a champion of all things the technical.
True story.
So, guys, we're actually, this is posted, 48 hours, I guess, after the first segment, but we're just still rolling, all right? And so, at the end of the last conversation, I was speaking to Sarah Harbuck, and we had just gotten into a subject which, listen, I don't like giving people a hard time, but doctors are starting to piss me off again. Okay, it is for the same reason, but for different. But I think now it's not just me. I think the rest of the world is starting to pick up on the fact that maybe a lot of this shit is bullshit
Okay.
with doctors.
I'm with you.
And I want to just go into how I came about, not really trusting medical establishment. Sarah just now related a story about how her brother nearly died from a infection, burst appendix, because you just waited too long. They waited too long. They said he had the flu. He did not have the flu. In fact, he had appendicitis. And then when they finally figured out he had sepsis, he's fighting for his life. Well, a similar thing happened to me, where I had ear infections as a kid. A lot of us, my age, we had a lot of ear infections.
Sure.
And so, I went to the doctor, and I complained about a sore throat and the ear infection. And the doctor barely looked at me. He looked, she actually looked at me and said, "Yeah, it's that thing that you get sometimes. Just take this medicine and go home." Well, I took the medicine and went home, and I felt better for about 2 days, and then I felt worse again. And this continued. Like I said, my family was not the doctor family. I've already been to a doctor once. The rest of it's just going to be waited out. Give it to Jesus. We're going to pray over you. And so everything was fine until my fever spiked and I had a seizure. And so then I'm rushed to the hospital. It turns out I did not, in fact, have an ear infection. I, in fact, had strep throat, which went undiagnosed. And so it spread to my kidneys, which then made my blood pressure go to stroke level, which then got me life flighted to Louisiana.
Okay.
And this is all because the doctor wasn't really listening to my symptoms, largely because of the thing that Sarah just said. It was for profit. She wasn't going to get any more money for looking at me for another second, and so she didn't.
Right.
And it's something that I resented at the time because I actually did die and had to overcome that.
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast. Cut to years later. Years later, I'm married. Okay, I'm married. I'm at home, and I start having tremendous stomach pains.
Okay.
Like if you know me, you know that I have a lot of allergies and food allergies. I wasn't aware of at the time, but stomach pain was not something that I would complain about.
Okay.
And so if I'm complaining about it, the stomach pain must have been crippling, and it was. All right. So I'm up in the middle of the night, and I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm fucking dying. Maybe I should go to the hospital. My wife gets me to the hospital. The doctors look at me, and they're like, okay, you have appendicitis. We're going to schedule you for surgery. And so I'm in and they're doing scans, and they're checking my blood pressure, and they have me on IPO, which means I can't take any foreign substance into my body whatsoever. I can't have water, I can't have food, I can't have anything.
Okay.
And I'm on an IV, and I've got the help lock on, and I'm miserable. And the doctor comes, looks at me, and says, "Hey, look at this scan." He showed me this scan and said, "Look at your colon here. Look at my colon." And says, "Yeah, this is reversed." So what does that mean? So well, your sigmoid colon's on the wrong side. So for a regular colon, your cecum is that area of your bowel that connects from your small intestine to your large intestine. That's on one side. On the opposite side is your sigmoid colon, which drops down and then curves into your descending colon. And
What?
and goes,
Sarah's dying over there.
Sarah found that extremely funny.
I was just like, this is the longest story ever.
Is it a really long story?
Apparently Sarah's not familiar with Tattooed with Children stories.
Yeah, she doesn't know how our stories went.
Yeah, she doesn't know how our stories go.
So I guess I'll short it. Well, in other words, my
Continue
colon,
the story.
the scan was mirror imaged. Okay, so and I was like, "Is this the reason why I'm hurting?"
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "I don't know," and then left.
Okay.
So and then, like literally, that's exactly. My wife was there. You can ask her too. This is exactly how the conversation went. He said, "I don't know," and he left out of the room. Said, "Am I still having surgery?" I said, "Oh yeah, you're still having surgery." And so about an hour later, not an hour later, that's exaggeration. About 5 hours later, I'm not hurting anymore. Okay, the pain stops. And so, hey, everyone, the pain stops. He says, "Yeah, okay, your pain stopped. We're still gonna have surgery." Like, really? Like, yeah. And so a few more hours pass, and it's like, you know what? You haven't had pain for a while. I'll observe you. So they observed me for a while, like hours. So yeah, there's no pain. Like, all right, well, we're still gonna keep you here and keep you on IPO. Say, am I still having surgery? Said, yeah, we're not gonna do the surgery, but we're still gonna keep you there. And so now I'm getting pissed off.
Right.
Because I'm IPO. I haven't eaten or drunk anything in 24 hours.
Right.
I'm getting cranky. I have this fucking needle in my arm.
Okay.
And so finally, I'm after another 10 hours, like, get me the fuck out of here. I'm leaving. Like, no, we still got to observe you. What are you observing? Do you have any idea what's wrong? No idea whatsoever.
Okay.
Then I'm getting out of here.
Right.
And eventually, I just simply demanded that they remove the IV, remove the help lock, and let me drink at the very least.
Right.
So they had to bend on that and actually decide that I knew enough about myself to know that I can ingest now.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 5 hours later, I was discharged. Still to this day, no idea what was wrong with me that day.
Yeah.
No idea what it means that apparently I'm a mutant
Okay.
with mutant guts. And they're completely unconcerned about it.
Right.
Like, and combine those two stories, and you end up with a guy that really doesn't trust the medical establishment because they don't know what the fuck is going on most of the time.
Well, okay, but you and I have had this argument for a while, and we always end up on different sides of it. Somehow, I don't know how. It's
you're
not.
wrong.
No, it's not because I'm wrong. It's most likely that we can't come to an agreement on what science is.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
sure.
I mean, well,
I'm coming more along in this sense. I'm coming more to your side of the argument. I believe. Keep going.
I just looked up the definition for science. I Googled it, and it says
Google
Oddly
knows
enough,
all.
that is also the definition for science.
it says
Can you
Google it.
Google it?
the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment.
Okay, I can buy that in the sense of you have to observe and experiment in order to learn.
I mean, I can buy it, but I don't know that that's what they're doing.
That's my question.
Like,
That's my exact question. Is that what? But that's what's going on.
you know, because like we got into this the other day. You know, the Western scientist kills the cat and dissects it. The Eastern scientist lives in the room with the cat for a year. You know, one is, the German scientist is saying, well, I've taken it apart and I know how it works. The Eastern scientist is saying, well, it was alive to begin with. It is still alive, and I have lived as it.
Right.
And, can I get you a ladder?
It's,
Do
we
you-
have
we have,
Sarah who's taking
Okay.
a picture of our
So-
situation here.
So my frustration here is that a lot of the things that we call science simply have a real lack of observation to start with. You mentioned a test the other day. You mentioned that they're starting to have a very difficult time reproducing what we're basing our medicines on.
Right. Everything that we say that we know,
Right.
they're starting to like, okay, let's do those experiments again. And you're finding that 80% of them cannot be reproduced. The results are different.
Right, which is improbable unless the scientific method wasn't clear in the first place.
Let me ask you guys this: what is the average body temperature of a human?
98.6.
What do you say?
I think that's the accepted norm. I don't know.
98.6?
That's not the. I don't necessarily know that that's the average.
No, that's the average. I've always said that it is 98.6. That is a number that was put in my head early in my life,
Right.
and that is numbers have been accepted. That number was established back in the 1850s
Okay.
by a scientist by the name of Wunderlich.
That's a great name.
It is. He did a million. Is
Hold
a
up.
German.
Hold up.
Yeah.
If it's in
Wonder-
German, no. If it's in German,
Wunderlich.
It's
Wund-
Wunderlich.
Wunderlich.
Okay, let's go with Wunderlich. I agree with
Exactly.
you completely on
Wunderlich.
this one. So, how did Wunderlich get his name?
His name.
Was
I'm
he
assuming,
like
given by his parents.
well known with the ladies? And they're like, you need to go see Dr.
Wunderlich?
Wunderlich.
Ooh, he know what he doing. He healed all of my frenzy.
I be at that doctor every day.
I was so nervous when I went to Dr. Wunderlich, and now I'm not nervous about shit.
Okay, and that was
So
you said that happened in 1984, like in a reasonable era of computing and science.
No, it happened in 1850s.
Okay, what remind me what we had going for us in 1850?
Slavery, war, a good amount of infectious disease.
Oh, the camera. That
The-
did just come about.
Well, yeah, that's something. If you had 40 hours to spend, you could take a snapshot. Back in the 1850s.
Yeah, that was
He took a million temperatures. He took a million temperatures in the 1850s and averaged them. Like, I don't know if he was fucking autistic or just, like, I don't even know how you
Probably.
fucking do that. But, okay, so they said, yeah, this is the average. Now, they didn't take his firm's word. About 3 decades later, they tried it again on a smaller sample size. So, yeah, 90.6 seems pretty good.
Pope Pius IV returned from exile that year.
What? They exiled a pope
And
he
Los
returned.
Angeles was incorporated.
Before Los Angeles was incorporated, this guy was establishing the baseline body temperature that we accepted for, what is it, 170 years? Is what we're talking about here? 170 years? And so they just recently redid it and determined that actually it's not 98.6.
Really?
It's actually 97.5. It's lower.
That's unfortunate.
Now you have two choices. Either the tabulated temperatures were fudged because of, things.
Well, it could have been because California wasn't a state yet.
It could be because California wasn't a state. And-
Continue.
or you have to think that we are getting colder.
Okay.
Now that's possible. It's possible that our temperature is going down because of we have fewer infectious diseases and we have more sedentary life and all of those reasons.
Because
But
it's
they
inversely proportional to
Don't
climate change.
know at all.
Yeah,
They have no viable theories
Right.
as to why the human body temperature on average would be a full degree lower than what they thought.
Right.
So now if you get a 98.1,
Right.
before you're like, oh, that's not a fever. That's 5 degrees above
Okay,
normal.
okay, but see, here's my issue because we're not starting at the beginning.
No.
No one can read doctor's handwriting. So how
What
the
the
fuck
fuck?
did
This is why I
they
fucking love Ben Harbuck.
Why are we believing this motherfucker from
I love it.
1850 when California is not a state yet?
What if you had the janky hand?
That's what I'm saying. Like Elon Musk didn't fix this shit. Like Barack Obama, where you at? Like,
Where you at, homie?
Like
They did not have air conditioning back then either.
No AC. No fucking
That's
AC.
why.
No one even fucking thought to check if indoor outdoor air conditioning had an effect
right,
on the human body temperature average.
right.
Like that's not science to me.
No, it's not.
Am I wrong? I'm asking everyone in the world. Am I wrong?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, like, if we just went through a thing a couple of months ago, towards the end of last year, where they forgot to ratify the new plumbing code.
Oh yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Remember that? The legislature just like dropped the ball.
They just completely didn't do it.
Yeah, and they're just like, well, what if we don't do that? So the thing about it is, though, is like every 30 years they have to look at the plumbing code again.
Yeah, it's a legal requirement.
But doctors are like, well, he wrote down in 1850 that it was 98.6. I think we'll use that, Ed.
Now let's go ahead and talk about BMI. When was that shit established?
Right.
Let's talk about
When they established.
BMI stands for Bullshit Metrics Incorporated.
Okay, but when they established it feels to me that when they established BMI, this was when the average age of white men was 38,
right. Exactly.
and the average age of black men was 27.
They're like
Maybe
a full-grown,
maybe 24.
a full-grown adult, right?
Right.
Has this BMI. What they didn't tell you was that full-grown adult was 12 and a half years old.
Right,
Yeah.
and also he walks 16 miles a day one way for water.
There was no bus pass.
They're like, we're fatter today. Well, no shit. I haven't walked 16 feet for water in my entire life.
And then let's talk about let's talk about cholesterol. Cholesterol causes heart attacks, yes?
Sure.
Google that shit and tell me how many articles you have contradicting each
Right.
other.
Well, and this goes back to a thing that you and I, this is where it gets difficult to talk about, because I understand you want to be upset at doctors right now, but
You know what? It's not doctors.
Technically, I'm upset at us.
Yes.
I have to start at me and you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you and I, we figured out by the time we were like 21 that there was a lot of shit we didn't know.
Right.
But then we got busy making babies and trying to figure out what we were supposed to do with our lives.
Yeah.
And okay, and
Finding
and we
ourselves.
Just, yeah,
I was drunk. I was drunk as fuck.
you were drunk. I was out in the woods talking to a tree. We each had our thing. Okay. We dealt with depression differently. But my thing is when did we assume? When we found out that there were 4 out of 5 things in biology
Yeah.
that was a lie, or there was 4 out of 5 things in fairy tales that were a lie, or
Yep.
that 4 out of 5 things we had learned about food were a lie.
Right.
Why did we just stop there?
I don't know. That's and it was, for me, it was even worse because I have a degree in physics.
Yeah.
And if you get a degree in physics, one of the things that you learn is that everybody figured out physics was one thing. It was Isaac Newton, and then you went on from Newton, and everything's classical, and everything is waves. And then you get right around 1907,
Mm-hmm.
and, oh, by the way, all that's bullshit. So what do you mean all that's bullshit? You mean that gravity's wrong? No, gravity's right, but everything else is different than what we said. Light is actually a particle and a wave. Is that possible?
Right.
Well, no, except if it's light. How do you know that? Well,
Right.
reasons.
Right. You measured it against what?
And so now that's accepted, right?
Right.
It's wave particle theory
Right.
and quantum mechanics. It is all these neat equations that we can
Right.
figure out this, that, and the other. We got all these constants that we can
Yeah.
figure out. We get to the end, and you say, all right, let's go back to the beginning. Why is this true?
Right.
Well, it just is.
Right.
How is that science, motherfucker?
Well,
and they don't understand when I tell them
Right.
maybe the second order of thermodynamics is God pushing the universe in one direction.
Right.
Well, there is no God because you can't prove it.
Right.
You can't prove anything.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, could you prove dirt for like 15 seconds?
exactly.
You know, just run the same experiment 15 years in a row and tell me the results. And by the way, if they're all different, please don't call it science. Please call it 15 different experiments. And then I will call it science. See, this is what's interesting about it, is when you call yourself something, it's much less likely to be true than when
when somebody else calls
when
you that.
somebody else is like, you know what, that motherfucker's a doctor, and you're like, yeah, no, I actually agree with you. That seems true. Like, he helps everybody I know.
Right.
You know what I mean? But on the other hand, when you're like, I am a doctor, I am learned, and you're just like, I don't think you are, bro. Like, I think you probably I don't know, spend some too much time with yourself.
One of the things that medical science will tell you is that acupuncture doesn't work.
Right.
Chiropractic doesn't work. Home
Right.
remedies don't work. Now, here's the thing. We can fully accept that what you eat affects your health. We can fully accept that if you take performance-enhancing drugs that are made in a lab, they will, in fact, enhance your performance.
Okay.
They will make you stronger. They'll make you faster. They'll make you more alert. They'll improve your reflexes. And to a certain extent, they will actually improve your thinking ability.
Okay.
Like, we have drugs that can do that.
Right.
But they will fight you tooth and nail that a Chinese person 2,000 years ago could have achieved the exact same effect using natural plants and animals.
Right. Yeah.
Like, how on earth can you say that it doesn't work?
Right.
Well, because there's no way to prove it.
Actually, they have a lot more written down than we do.
They've already written that stuff down.
See, and they were writing that stuff down way before 1850. And this goes back to my one of principal frustrations. We talked about this on one of the very earliest episodes of the podcast. Because I just read that in 1850, I'm so glad you mentioned that year, that Harriet Tubman became the official conductor of the Underground Railroad. Now, one of the reasons that this is frustrating to me is because of language. I love, as a child, there's probably no white man, well, I was a white boy. There's probably no white boy that loved Harriet Tubman more. I read like 800 books on her.
She is one of the greatest American stories
She
ever
is.
from a
She
heroic
is.
standpoint.
But when you read the words that
Official
Harriet,
conductor.
that the United States of America named
Declared.
her the official conductor of the Underground Railroad.
Oh my God.
How is a child supposed to know that that is not the world's first subway?
Oh my God.
Like, that devastated my entire world.
The official, as if, like, honestly, and I will be frank here, when the first time I heard about the Underground Railroad, I pictured, like, I imagined everybody must have,
Yeah, like
that
I
there
did.
was an underground, if not a train,
Right.
but there was an underground tunnel
Right. No, there was
that
a
they
tunnel.
all ran
Right.
through.
And this lady walked from the north to the south, got the people, and came back without anybody finding out about it.
On schedule.
And I was like, Mom, I need to go to the library again.
Yeah,
And she's like, why? And I'm like, I finished Philippians and Hebrews last night. My book reports are in, and I need to get some more books on science. And then I go straight to Harriet Tubman. You know, I'm like flicking through the Rolodex, you know, like, give me some more, give me some more. Like, this lady is like the world's first thug. And then I find out, they're like, oh no, conductor, like the official conductor, it's not like a train.
The look on Ben's face was look on my face first time I heard that too.
Why did you call it a railroad then? Well, it was like metaphysically a railroad.
It was a metaphor.
So then I spent like the next year reading about metaphysics, and they're like, well, you're not actually here right now. You're just more likely to be here than you are to be somewhere else. And I'm like, so basically you motherfuckers are like Baptist preachers.
Afraid so.
Like you just
Afraid
make,
so.
you just make shit up, and it sound good, and people give you money.
They said, what are we going to call this, what we're doing here? We're going to call it the Underground Railroad.
Right.
So that's stupid. We haven't...
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Underground means secret.
Well, Ben has a lot of trouble with synonyms.
See, here's... Okay.
But again, I do...
No, you're absolutely right. But the thing about it is, it doesn't make it okay. Because...
No, it was a stupid synonym.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
Just to confirm, for those who couldn't hear it, Sarah agrees it was a stupid synonym.
It was a stupid turn of phrase.
Well, it's frustrating because from an outside perspective, when you're trying to talk about these things, words matter.
Yes.
The way we communicate with each other is based off of words. We are no longer cavemen. We no longer make guttural noises and draw crayon pictures. So when you say railroad, do you or do you not mean a goddamn locomotive on 2 iron tracks?
Or do you or do you not mean a route that is definite, that has a schedule that it runs on?
Right.
You don't mean those things? Then it's not a fucking railroad in any sense.
Right. And then if that's the case, then if 98.6 matters...
If that is a number that means something, in other words, if my fever is higher than this,
right,
then I have to take action.
Right.
Then I need that to be a number that is backed by something other than your idea.
And also, dear American Medical Association, or whatever the fuck you are.
Right.
I understand that your book was originally written in 1850. But could we update it? It's 2020. I don't know if you guys heard. We have cell phones. Okay? We like so much is over the... Like, we have bottled water now. Can you imagine telling someone from 1850 that they're going to put water in plastic? Oh, right, you can't because they didn't have plastic.
Right.
Like, it's so dumb to consider that this is medicine. And then the doctors say, if you have a newborn, for instance, the doctors say, hey, if the fever gets up to 104, bring her in. It's life-threatening.
Right.
So you rush to the emergency room.
Right.
22 years old. Kid's got a 104 fever. Kid is under 12 months old. You rush to the emergency room. Mm-hmm. Doctor, what do we do? Well, I mean, we're going to put some ice on it. And wait, it's a he. You can call it a he. You don't have to call it an it. Well, right. No, you're right, son. We're going to put some ice on him, and we're going to give him 2 aspirin. And I thought you said he couldn't have aspirin. Well, he can't have aspirin the rest of the time, but he can have 2 now. Are you going to inject the aspirin into him? No, we're gonna put him in the back of his tongue, and we're gonna hold his mouth shut until he swallows.
Like a dog.
Was that a scientific test you ran, Doc? Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, and then what do? We'll just go home and wait and see what happens. But I thought you said it was life-threatening. If it's life-threatening, then why is go home and see what happens
an option?
Right. And this is where people would always say, Ben, you're too skeptical.
Well.
But see, the thing about it is, you've met me. Yeah. I'm actually not at all skeptical.
Not at all.
If someone walks up to me and says, hey, I'm the Prince of Persia, I'm like, fuck yeah, you are.
I am absolutely more skeptical than Ben.
Yeah, like, come on in, Prince.
I am so much more skeptical than Ben.
Like, I believe everything. You know, people walk up to me and they're like, my dick's bigger than yours. And I'm like, you know what? It probably is. Like, you want to measure? You know, like I got a ruler in here. And it claims, like most white men, that 3 inches is actually 7.5.
It works.
But
that's science.
That's because you got to measure from the balls.
It's the inner shaft.
But see, the thing about it is...
That's the part that counts.
That everybody acted like I was insane.
Yeah, it is true.
And it's like, guys, I'm using all the same words you are, and I'm trying to play by your rules. So is 104 a dangerous temperature or not? And the doctor's like, well, we don't actually know. I just want to look at him.
That is literally... I would be very much in Ben's face right now if I hadn't heard. Okay, different story.
You want to look at
him? My daughter, fever was 100.1.
Right.
Low grade fever.
So
And so I
according
call.
to my 3 children,
Uh-huh.
you shouldn't be anywhere near the doctor's office.
I shouldn't even call the doctor.
Correct.
I do because I love my kids.
Okay.
And so I call the doctor and say 100.1.
Yeah.
Should I come in? They're like, no, don't bother me with that bullshit.
Okay.
And I go, I'm sorry, and I hung up the phone.
Okay.
So 3 days later,
That was a really good John Mulaney joke you just did there.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I don't know
All
if
right,
anybody caught
continue
that
the
but
story.
then, but yeah, it was John Mulaney. So I do 100. I did call back at 3 days later, 100.1 guys. Still don't come in. It's not that big of a deal. Like wait at least 2 more days. Like okay, fine. So 2 more days go by. It's 5 days. 100.1. I'm bringing her in. Like what? Shut up. I'm bringing her in. I bring her in to the emergency room because the doctor doesn't give a fuck. I have a doctor there who is bored. So he goes, all right, she has 100.1. She looks pretty good. I'm just going to run some blood work just because I can. So he runs some blood work, and her white cell count is almost at the bottom. Like, it's extremely low. He goes, that's funny. He comes back to me and is like, you know what? Her white cell count's a little bit low. What's your pediatrician's name? Say my pediatrician's Nacogdoches. Why don't you go ahead and call her? So he calls the pediatrician. My pediatrician is not available. We get another pediatrician who is what I call a zebra doctor. You know, she's one of those doctors that hunts zebras instead of looking for horses.
Right.
So she's always looking for some incredible disease to diagnose.
Okay.
This says the white cell count is what? Okay, send her to Texas Children's. Lifeliner. It was
Hold up.
yeah. It's like, well, she has 101. I know where she has low-grade fever. Her white cell count is at the bottom. I think she has cancer. She's going to die in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Take her to Texas Children's.
All right.
So we take her to Texas Children's, and they look at her and go, yeah, your doctor is right. She's going to die.
Wow.
Literally. To me and my wife. And we're sitting there, what?
Yeah.
Did we wait too long? And they said, yeah, you actually did. She has a virus that's it's suppressing her immune system. She could have been dead at any time. Any infection could kill her right now. And so they pump her full of prophylactic antibiotics for like a week, and we just have to sit there and hope that she rebounds. And this was 100 point. It never got above a low-grade fever. But that low-grade fever nearly killed my child. Now, how many of you listening right now know that a low-grade fever can kill your child? Raise your hand if you knew that before I said it. I don't see any hands that go up in this room.
Right.
And we all got kids except for David.
Right.
So most parents, I would say, don't know that. If you're listening now you know. A low-grade fever, 100.1, 100.5, is not negligible. If that bitch goes on for longer than 2 days, you better get her to the emergency room. Him or her.
Right.
Because you could be putting your child's life in danger. And that's something that science, medicine, told me wasn't a thing.
I hope you sent the bill for the hospital to that stupid doctor who told you that 100.1 didn't mean anything.
It was all of them. It was all of them. See, that's my other part of it. It's not even that it's not science. It's the fact that it's not science, and they're going to charge me for it.
Just so
They
you know,
charge me for not knowing.
our live listener, Adrian, etc., 2K10
Hey,
on
Adrian.
Instagram, confirms, not me.
Didn't know. Thank you,
know.
Adrian. I appreciate your input, Adrian. Yeah, like I don't think because that's not what we're told. You know, we're not, but we are told that they know what a dangerous fever is. You know, like they want us to believe that, but they don't actually know. And
Right.
there's so many things that they don't know. I'm wondering why on earth I have insurance.
Right.
Like I pay a lot of money for health insurance. For
Right.
fucking what?
Right.
I'm waiting for broke legs at this point to use my health insurance.
Well, and again, we can't get into insurance and science in the same day. But I think what we're trying to say
That's
is
way exhausting.
not that we don't need doctors. I mean, you needed the doctors in that case to keep your daughter alive. I have also needed doctors to keep my kids alive.
Yeah.
I think some of this has to do with perception. In other words, as we've gotten smarter faster, as we've gotten more technologically advanced. And I would like to say we're smarter than we were, but
I would immediately want to take exception to that, but I'm not going to.
Because you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
I mean, neither of us are sure that we're smarter, but technologically we're moving quicker, and we seem to be doing more things that keep us alive longer.
Yes, I would say that I will probably outlive my current lifespan that I would have had if I was born in, say, 1930.
Right. Yeah. And so, to me,
I'd be dead already.
To me, but the perceived.
I'd have been hung, but I'd have still been dead.
The perceived information that we're trying to interact with, and I think that's where some people misunderstand, is that it's not that I want the knowledge to be correct every time. I want the knowledge to be able to interact with you appropriately.
Yes.
And
in other words, if you don't know, which is a perfectly viable answer to life's questions, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to know that you're trying to find out the answer with me.
Right.
You know, like you're actually trying to get better rather than saying, well, I don't know, and that's okay, and we're not going to research anymore. Like, in other words, okay, how did it take 170 years to figure out that the human body is getting colder? It should have been from 98.6 to 98.1 to 97.9.
That is assuming taking the average of 1 million temperatures is even accurate enough to get a right number to begin with.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to, is it even fucking science?
Right.
You know, it's like...
No, it's not. I mean, my personal opinion is that's not science, right? That's math.
That's math.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That is how averages work. It doesn't necessarily how the goddamn human body works.
Right.
Right.
Are we going to decide to figure out how the human body works, or are we just going to keep saying shit?
Right.
You know, acupuncture does work for some people.
Right.
Chiropractic definitely fucking works.
Right. Well, but that goes back to what we're taking for granted, the information we have, the fact that we don't understand the difference between an opinion,
right,
a theory,
right,
a statement. Like the different, like for instance, you mentioned a couple podcasts ago, participles.
Yeah.
You know, like how many people know the difference or have read the difference between a past and present participle? You know, what is the difference between a verb and an adverb?
Right.
You know, and I say these things not to say that I'm educated, because I have clearly given the listener plenty of information to understand that I don't retain a lot of things that people consider serious
actual
academia.
information.
Yeah, exactly. But the reality still is the same, that I did learn those things. I did learn how to dialogue with other people. I did learn how to dialogue and interact with the police officer, with the fireman, with the preacher, with my mom and dad, and how when I went to my grandma and grandpa's, I could not say the same things that I said to my mom and dad without my grandma and my grandpa getting upset.
Right.
And that I should not share with my grandma and grandpa the same information. Maybe I should not share that information with the neighbor.
Right.
You know, and so on and so forth. And yet, technology has advanced so fast that now we can't tell the difference between anything. And when you start looking at the facts we have, it's been so long since they've been updated, you can't help but wonder if they're actually facts or not.
Yeah, a term that gets bandied around about is common sense. You know, like common sense logic, common sense thinking, common sense knowledge.
Yeah.
Like those things don't exist anymore. And I don't mean they don't exist in the sense that in reality no one thinks the same or no one has logic. I mean that what you think that you know and everyone should know probably isn't the actual truth. Does that, you know, because we haven't reevaluated our common sense in a long time.
Are we ready to take a...
Yeah. We're just going to take a quick break, guys. And keep going with this conversation, this second episode of Tattoo with Children at the Pain Points Podcast Party.
like a pack of some warm cervezas are important, like the fact that we're bored of fake shit. More creative, have the floor, so take it. Travel to the door is a normal placement. Tattoos on my arm ain't a form of faith yet. I battle with the thought of my morals vacant. Turns out, don't confuse it with a turn up. Ain't a veggie I can see unless you count the burnt blunts. Burn up, I can do this Ric Flair stuff. You consider stir tough, I can never care enough. Care 11 kind of trouble when we're paired up. Apparently the fair started early, grab a bear stuff. My gears, clutch, and motor are all a rare cut. Basically with blood diamonds, ain't that hard to sell us.
My name ain't Nike, but yeah, I rock. You know why? Cause I don't give a fuck. That's why it doesn't matter whether I'm cool or not. Just a taste of the word gives me the gut rock. It's not pop to just stop like a blood clot. Cause we're here to blow up like we came from Iraq. Electronica embezzled by hip hop. Here to kick ass until the heart stops. Hipsters put on their cool shades, and thrifters keep the money they've been paid. And drifters have nothing safe but mind lifters. Don't give a damn what they say.
Wait, undeceivable, shit's unbelievable. You never ever guessed you'd hear this mix, it's inconceivable. Ouch, too hot, baby, back out of the kitchen. This is what you love at Wonderful, so daddy put your bitch. I'm a poisonous affliction with a fireball addiction, man. It burns like hell and tastes like heaven. You say both, itching. Now I got you campus itching. This is music for your children. If you never heard the cue before, you don't know what you're missing.
Hey!
Doesn't matter if you're
Cooler.
Hottest in the
Cortisol present, better lose a box.
Doesn't matter if you're
Cooler.
Hottest in the
Cortisol present, better lose a box.
Doesn't matter if you're
Cooler.
Hottest in the
Cortisol present, better lose a box.
Doesn't matter if you're
Cooler.
Hottest in the
Cortisol present, better lose a box. I carry the club like Neanderthal, the choir got everybody dancing, dog. Yell on that X, I'm a sentinel, standing tall, no time to stand still. Please don't be dog. They're throwing jazz at me to challenge my rap savvy. I sway like Callaway, I'm ahead, you'll never catch me. Ain't worry about it unless I spit Christmas gifts. My crew lighting up trees, you a screw to this. Menage a Quad, the name of my team supreme. They biting now, so I'm tossing out teeth and rings. You said you wanted bling, flossing ain't what you mean. You got baby teeth, though they pulling wisdom from me. Get neutered, respect the shooter of medulla. Give an inch, I'll take 5,280 rulers. Royalty around me and mine, we all sires. Words in Paris, we hot, that's fresh fire.
Doesn't matter if you're
Cooler. Cortisol present, better lose a box.
Doesn't matter if you're
Cooler. Cortisol present, better lose a box.
Doesn't matter if you're
Cooler. Cortisol present, better lose a box.
Doesn't matter if you're
Cooler. Cortisol present, better lose a box. Challenge my rap, Swabby. Keep the first one.
Sing it out at street level. No boost the bass and twist the treble. All our leaders lie and employ pure murder. Do I really have to sing this again? The state we're in, I admit it bears repeating. Authorities exist, the men are overthrowing. Passive populists pretending like they never knowing that. Hard to forget if you're one hit by empire straight from lit. Hard to ignore building implode ever own a stick for it. Hard to believe they buried boogeyman body I see with that one soldier cell phone helmet cap snapping one picture to prove it. Yeah. Sing it out at street level. Low boost the bass and twist the treble. All our leaders lie and produce pure murder. Rejecting this so worthless system. Establishment persists, the harder we resist it. But ceasing to exist the moment we dismiss it. Yeah. Hard to convince significance of working with the minute. Hard to insist when peace plus presence, keeping us extra careless. Expending ammo faster than can even be replenished. Enduring each side ever extending, expanding more that's endless. Sing it out at street level. Levels the bass and twist the treble. All our leaders lie and employ pure murder. Sing it out at street level. No boost the bass and twist the treble. All our leaders lie and produce pure murder.
bring it back, but it's more than basic. It's a portion of his rap, but the core is ancient. It's supported like a pack of some warm cervezas. Are important like the fact that we're bored of fake shit. More creative, have the floor, so take it. Travel to the tour is a normal placement. Tattoos on my arm in a form of faith. Yet I battle with the thought of my morals vacant. Turns out, don't confuse it with a turn up. Ain't a Vegiocracy unless you count the burnt bloods. Burn up, I can do this Ric Flair stuff. You consider stir tough, I can never care enough. Care 11 kind of trouble when we're paired up. Apparently the fair started early, grab a bear stuff. My gears, clutch, and motor are all a rare cut. Basically with blood diamonds, ain't that hard to sell us.
My name ain't Mikey, but yeah, I rock. You know why? Cause I don't give a fuck. That's why it doesn't matter whether I'm cool or not. Just a taste of the word gives me the gut rock. It's not pops, so just stop like a blood clot. Cause we're here to blow up like we came from Iraq. Electronica embezzled by hip hop. Here to kick ass until the heart stops. Hipsters put on their cool shades, and thrifters keep the money they've been paid. And drifters have nothing to say but mind lifters. Don't give a damn what they say.
Wait, undeceivable, shit's unbelievable. You never ever guessed you'd hear this mix, it's inconceivable. Ouch, too hot, baby, back out of the kitchen. This is glitchy love at wonderful, so daddy put your bitch. I'm a poisonous affliction with a fireball addiction. Man, it burns like hell and tastes like heaven. You say bold, itching. Now I got you campus itching.
And we're back with Tattoo with Children at the Pain Points podcast party. Guys, I know I just, we probably angered a few people here, but we have been getting a little bit of attention. I appreciate all the attention that we get. You guys that have been listening to us, following us on our different streams here, I'm glad you were with us. We're going to be wrapping up a little bit. I've got Sarah back on the mic over here to wrap us up. Ben is actually speaking with his parents who dropped by. So, like, I'm just really excited about all the attention that this thing drew, intentional and unintentional. Like, I'm probably sure that they didn't know they were doing this, but they stopped by anyway, and that's just dope as hell to me. So, sorry, I didn't mean to use the H word.
It'll be okay.
I didn't mean I'm gonna slip out.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
So yeah, guys, I don't know if you've stuck with us for this long. Like, this has been a lot of fun. I think this was a success. We learned so much during the course of these two podcasts.
Did we?
And well, we did in the sense that you're going to be getting a lot more service. The listeners of Pain Points and Tattoo with Children, you're going to be getting a lot more service going forward. We've learned some things that we can do. We learned some things that we can't do. And so that gives us the confidence to expand our reach into your lives, which I know that's what you really want. You really want more Flavor Ray, right?
Of course.
Sure.
Of course.
See?
They
Look at
want
that.
Flavor Ray on camera, and so the audience knows the cameras are on their way. Amazon promises that they'll be here extraordinarily soon.
We're going to
we
be
got that Prime going.
doing video streaming for you. We're going to be doing video, but we're going to post our podcast with the video on our YouTube channel, which we already have. We already have a YouTube channel.
We do have a YouTube
I
channel.
don't really talk about the YouTube channel too much because there's not much on it as far as video.
The
but-
podcasts do get posted there, but they're audio only with just the basic picture.
Yeah,
You know,
which
that's
is-
going to
which is
change.
kind of
Is
bullshit.
YouTube
We're
still a
doing
thing
this.
now that TikTok is taking
Oh
over?
God, yeah.
Is it?
TikTok
Yeah.
TikTok is still only like a minute tops.
Yeah, I mean, they have a live stream platform in there now, but they haven't opened it up yet.
Yeah,
You know?
it's not the big robust thing
I
that YouTube
Like,
is.
clearly have not used it enough to know.
Yeah, you guys may start seeing things like, Tattoo with Children on Twitch.
Yeah.
So many different possible places we could be doing this.
So literally, we're going to start just like a virus, just spreading everywhere. That's what we learned tonight. It's like we were like, oh hey, let's do IG, let's do
You're
Facebook.
going to have a 100.1 Tattooed with Children fever.
Like, we started on 2 streams, and by the end of the night here, we were on 8 streams. Like, that's how fast we spread like a rash. So the good news is that you're going to be getting more of
That is
that.
some really weird imagery to be putting out there for people.
Because I want
This
them
is what we do.
I want them to know what they're in for. Like, it's like, this is
I
great.
think they already do. I mean, just
it's-
look at the pictures you guys post for your Instagram. I think it says that all. It says it all right there. There's
Dude.
no mystery.
And there's going to be more food porn. Like, that's the other part about it. Is like, dude, like,
Can we just take the food off that? Just be like, there's going to be more porn of all kinds.
no, we can't do that, Mike. We can't do.
I mean,
like,
it's already explicit content.
I'm not going
well,
to
yeah,
tell
I mean,
the
don't
people.
go in the gutter, right? Don't go into there's Earth porn. There's space porn. Which is not something that happens on Star Trek. It's,
I am a former astronomer, and so
Where are
space
Marky and
porn
Becca?
is a thing.
Well,
but I'm not going to do
actually,
space porn.
surprisingly enough, Mark My Soul Art just joined the live video.
Marky.
Did she?
So Marky
Marky's
is
in
there.
Oh my
Marky,
God.
what's
Marky,
up, baby?
please say hi.
It is too much
Marky,
testosterone up in here.
straight up, Marky, I missed you so. This whole thing was a borderline disaster, quite frankly, because you weren't here. You've got to do this
This
episode
is
with
such a
me.
bullshit thing to say. You just said this was so amazing.
I know, and yeah, that's exactly what I meant, except for the fact I didn't. What I meant to say was, God, I wish Marky was here.
Oh my God.
Marky says hi.
Hi,
There
Marky.
are, I believe that is 6 eyes in hi.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Isn't there a whole theory about this? Like, like you say, hey, it means one thing, but you say, hey, and however many Y's there are means something?
Yeah, there's like it's like
That y'all are
hey.
full of crap
There's
is
like
what it
hey. There's like hey. It's still all means so many different things. All that to say, guys, we have had a tremendous ball tonight. This party was just what I wanted it to be. I'm very happy with it, and I'm going to expand on this tremendously to get this conversation to go in the direction it needs to go and to reach as many people as possible, and because I love you people. I love talking to you. Any closing thoughts there, Sarah? You got that look on your face like you're thinking of something.
I mean, this is just my face, pretty much. But
the look on her face was, this is kind of...
no, I'm trying to compute just everything that's kind of happened tonight. It's been an interesting, our format is so much more like, formal, I suppose.
Yeah.
Considering,
Pain points
Like
a bit
very
more formal.
structured.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you can tell the personalities involved are a little different, but I do like this because it's not nearly as much pressure. It's like
Yeah.
I've told Ben and Mike before, after we've gotten done with our pain points of interest, I don't know what I could stand in front of an audience of 1,000 people and give a speech and not get nervous at all. But the minute somebody says, I'm going to hit record and we're going to record your voice,
You
I
start
have
to seize
panic.
up. Yeah.
And I don't understand the mental whatever that goes on there. Like, why is it I can stand in front of live people and give a speech to 1,000 people and it's not an issue? But then Mike's all like, okay, we're going to get ready. And the minute he holds up his hand and starts counting it down and it's like, I'm going to have a panic attack.
Like-
what is that? What is that?
I don't know. But that's one thing I want to learn tonight. Like, there
but
was
it's-
some video that was taken tonight, and part of the reason why we didn't video stream is because I didn't know how to react to video. Like, I didn't want there to be a camera in here and then me, stare into it or do something fucking weird. But we were recording a little bit of video earlier, and I didn't give a fuck at all. I just kept going the way I normally would. So
Yeah, I kind of sprung that on you.
yeah, you really did.
Well,
It
my whole
started.
point with that was earlier was that I was, because of how informal this conversation happens, there's not this pressure to say it right or to even sound intelligent half the time.
Yeah, no, you ain't
wow.
got to be right. You ain't got to be smart.
I can see that point.
That ain't what I'm about.
We may need to restructure pain points of interest a little
I
bit.
mean, maybe
you
so.
know.
Maybe this is
Maybe
this is-
my problem is the reason I'm not feeling like we're getting a lot of pickup there is because I'm striving to be intelligent, and that's not what our audience wants. Our audience wants me to be an idiot.
I ain't got no time for that bullshit.
well,
You
maybe
you
it's
got,
just
got your book learning, you got your experience. Fuck all that. What you have for breakfast? How does that affect what you're doing right now? That's what we want to know.
Oh,
That's
that could be
actually
an
a really good
interesting
point.
thought. Hey, I
That
had
is-
oatmeal and
Have
toast
you ever-
and
We're
coffee.
recording again Monday. Topic
Have you ever
number
tried to
one.
put on a
How
top-
does your breakfast affect your business life?
Have you ever tried to put on a tight condom in the dark? That good information.
Okay, all right. We're gonna from now on,
Okay.
Sarah, you're not gonna be picking the topics from Reddit. We're gonna send Ray a text.
Okay, yeah, 5 topics to talk about on Pain Points of Interest, and he'll just send us random shit that probably has nothing to do with business.
None
We're gonna get a
whatsoever.
text Monday morning. Have you ever seen the serial numbers? And we're like, what the fuck does that mean?
Oh, it's gonna be
And
great.
try to somehow, it's like a challenge. Like a writing prompt. It's like a challenge to tie it into small business somehow.
Make a podcast out of this, tied with small business from this point. That's
That would
your
be-
challenge.
That would be so epically awesome, but also like terrifying because we could get there and be like, I have nothing to say about. I have no. I
have
cannot
no
connect
idea
That's
point
actually a
A
really-
and point B.
That's a really like beautiful idea that I think we actually meant what you just said about take a writing prompt, right, and turn it into tie it to business somehow. I think that is one of the most interesting ideas I've ever heard.
I'm gonna take credit for it right now.
And Sarah gets credit for it.
Sarah gets
absolutely,
credit for
100%.
it for sure.
I do want Flavor Ray to come up with some writing prompts for us
That would be
on
hilarious.
this. But
That would be so funny.
If you think about the idea of pain points of interest, right? It sounds like an old timey thing where they would take a writing prompt and see how they could.
It
just
does.
wrap it up in
It has an
business.
old Tommy radio vibe to it.
Yeah.
So we need
So-
like an old timey radio announcer
Yeah. It's
voice. I don't have that, but
welcome to Pain Points of Interest. I am your host, Flavor Ray. Tonight, we're going to be discussing. Have you ever thought about the fact that your I don't know. Actually, I lost it right there. I did have one. I did have a
You
good
were
one.
so close.
I did have a good one.
you
in
know,
there.
remember when we were growing up and in the morning I would be getting ready for school and getting ready for the bus and it'd be like 6 o'clock in the morning and there was a dude on the radio.
Yeah.
What was his name?
It was
Do you know he would do like the Farmer's Almanac and the news and
yeah. It was. Oh God, that guy's
do you know
name
how-
was.
But his
yeah.
voice is ingrained in my head. I can hear it right now. I can hear it in my head.
Was it the local
This is
NPR station?
yeah. No, it wasn't NPR. It's the Texas Country Reporter guy.
Yes. What was his name?
I'm losing it.
But it is such an iconic voice. If any of you listening have ever, if you're old enough and you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, Texas Country Reporter.
It was the most iconic voice, and every time I
He
think
got
of
Bob Phillips
Was it Bob Phillips?
presented. That was the TV show
No.
presented by Bob.
this
Phillips.
came on in the morning.
It was in the morning.
on the radio at like 6:30 in the morning. And it was like the daily forecast and the news tidbits and the Farmer's Almanac. And he
Yeah.
had such a booming radio voice. It was like, the iconic, the MGM trailer guy. The
Yeah,
guy who
yeah,
does
yeah.
the trailer. It was like that, but it was this dude.
In a world.
Yeah.
But
it
yeah.
was so like, you can just pick, like, it's like Morgan Freeman's voice. You can just picture that and hear it in your head, regardless. And the fact that I cannot remember his name completely just sort of deflates the whole balloon.
I'm certain my wife can actually would just know it right away. So I'll ask her later on, and then I'll put it on Twitter what the answer is. All right, guys. This has been the Pain Points podcast party, and we've done it mostly with Tattoo with Children, but we also did it with Pain Points. And we're gonna wrap this up by me just saying thank you for tuning in. You can find Tattoo with Children on Facebook at Tattoo with Children. You can find us on Instagram at Tattoo with Children. You can find us on Twitter at Tattooed With. You can find me on Twitter at Hunter Vanguard. That's one word, Hunter Vanguard. You can find me on IG at Madara Shadow. You can find Ben on IG at Black Crow Brother and also at Black Spot Tattoo Company. You can find Sarah on IG at Lightrider
2012.
Thank you. And also, what was your other one? Did you have another one? I thought you had two.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay. just a light writer. Go ahead and follow Light Writer because she's a photographer and an artist and she does really dope shit all the time. You can find Mike Payne at CAO Payne on IG and also at Payne.points. That's Payne spelled Payne. Also, you can find us on Patreon. All right. So all this stuff here we did tonight, like we redid the studio for you guys. To tell you the truth.
Yeah,
and
this place was a bloody mess.
It was a bloody mess, and it's not a. You've noticed you haven't heard any dogs barking.
Yeah,
we took care of a lot of
That's
shit.
such a reprieve.
Okay, the dogs are okay.
Yeah, they're fine.
They've just been moved to
We
a
did
different room.
not take them out back
No.
and old yeller them. We did not do that.
No. They're
Oh.
sweet puppies, so we're not going to do anything bad to them, and they will be back for the next recording. Don't worry about it. But we did do some work for you guys. It did cost a little bit of money, a small chunk of change. You can help defray that cost if you want to by going to Patreon and just search for Tattoo with Children and dropping $5, $10, $20, $50, whatever you give, I will give you something back. I can guarantee you that. And for those of you who don't give anything, you still get a lot of shit because we're now going to be posting on YouTube. Starting
Video.
sometime.
We're going to be doing video.
Video on YouTube. We already posted a video. We're going to on YouTube, but we're actually going to be posting video, and maybe some more streaming. We'll be doing some streaming every once in a while, since we got the capability.
Oh
That
yeah,
sound
no,
good,
I
man?
mean, I think that's a really great idea to
Like
do
we're
some
gonna be streaming
live
live
streams.
every once in a while. So like, guys, this is a great time to get involved with Tattoo with Children. Like, we're almost 60 episodes in, and we're just getting started. This is pretty fucking awesome, and I love you guys for being a part of it. So please remember to take care of yourselves before you take care of others. And that's a wrap.
Yeah, it's been good.
It's been great. Thank you all very much.
We'll
We'll
catch you
see
guys
you next time.
on Monday.
Yeah.